Hello everybody and good morning. My name is Don Arleth and you're watching World Talks here on TVP World. Russia has fired a Zircon hypersonic missile in the Barents Sea during joint military drills with Belarus. The Zapad 2025 exercises, which began on September 12th, are presented by Moscow and Minsk as purely defensive. But against the backdrop of the war in Ukraine, drone incidents here in Poland, and NATO's new Operation Eastern Sentry to strengthen its eastern flank, these maneuvers raise pressing questions about military balance, political messaging, and Belarus's role in Russia's strategy. Joining us now to discuss is Hanna Liubakova, non-resident fellow at the Atlantic Council, also investigative journalist and a long-standing voice on Belarusian politics and media freedom. Hello, and thank you very much, Hanna, for joining us. Great to see you.
Good morning.
Good morning. So Russia has showcased its Zircon hypersonic missile during the Zapad 2025. From your perspective, are these exercises more about genuine military training or more about projecting intimidation to NATO and its neighbors?
Well, on one hand, obviously, these drills are happening every 4 years, so these are planned drills, and they were supposed to happen. But on the other hand, we know that in 2021, of course, during these drills, after these drills in 2022, Russia attacked Ukraine. So, of course, I think we cannot just assume that this is about training. This is about Russia flexing muscles, showing that it still has capabilities to threaten the West, to potentially attack the West in the future. And of course, it shows the role of Belarus in all this geopolitical situation. Belarus is an ally of Russia. That's where also the drills are happening. And Lukashenko most recently said that since Russia is so busy in Ukraine, we have to step in, we have to help with these drills, and we have kind of to take most of the kind of power here and show that we are also helping.
Well, how should we interpret Belarus's participation? Does hosting Zapad signal deeper military integration with Russia or even a loss of sovereignty under Lukashenko?
I think there are several issues here. So the drills, as you rightly said, are happening against the background of the recent drone incursion of Russia into Poland. So some of the drones flew through, at least from the territory of Belarus. So I think clearly the role here is that Belarus is this territory from which, if Russia decides to attack the West, these attacks could happen. We also see the level of military, not even collaboration, but probably subjugation when it comes to Belarus. Firstly, the Belarusian enterprises, economy is helping Russia's war machine. And Belarus served as the territory for an aggression when it comes to Ukraine. And there are several agreements that Russia and Belarus have signed in the past years that allow the permanent basis of Russian troops on the territory of Belarus, which was not the case before, and even nuclear weapons. So I think all these aspects show us that indeed Lukashenko is very much helping Russia, but the country has become a sort of not probably losing its independence completely, but to some extent losing its sovereignty to Russia.
Now, for NATO members such as Poland and Lithuania, what kind of threat do these exercises pose in practical terms? I mean, should they be seen as a preparation for escalation or mainly some kind of like psychological pressure or psychological warfare?
It can be both. I think even before the drills, multiple sources in Western intelligence said that we should not expect kinetic conventional attacks from Russia during these drills. Well, again, Russia is busy elsewhere. Russia is busy in Ukraine. Yet, I think the drone incursion into Poland, but also recently the escalation and provocation in Romania show that Russia, does not see any limits, still wants to threatens, still wants to flex these muscles. So it's very hard, I think, after this to expect that Russia would just de-escalate and would stop and sign the peace agreement with Ukraine, as there were some hopes after the Alaska summit with President Trump. So I think Russia still provokes, and these drills are clearly showing that, even though, again, we don't have to expect this kind of kinetic conventional attacks. Still provocations, hybrid threats are happening. You in Poland know perfectly well that the migration crisis did not disappear. There are still provocations, there are still migrants coming from the territory of Belarus, and there are several other issues, that where Belarus is absolutely kind of provoking Poland, right, with the arrest of the Polish Catholic priest, and still with Andrzej Poczobut being in jail. So there is a number of things that are showing that neither Belarus nor Russia are de-escalating. And these drills probably are not about defense. These drills are about showing, threatening, and scaring.
Well, NATO is launching its Eastern Century in response. Do you think that Zapad has already succeeded in drawing the West into a new cycle of, military signaling?
Well, I think on one hand, why these drills are still, I think, important to follow is, of course, that we can see what Russia can do, what Russia is capable of. So we are seeing these hypersonic ballistic missiles that I think also gives us a picture of what's happening in Russia, what Russia is capable of, and what resources it still has. On the other hand, I think Russia is also, again, testing the West, as you rightly said. So this is about signaling. This is about sort of seeing what the other side can do. And it's really crucial that the West is united and that the West is also ready to show the response and respond. So in some way, of course, that's where I think Russia has forced the West to kind of to this signaling, right, to showing what they can do. But that's also the response that probably should be right there, because if the West's not united, if allies are not ready to support Poland after the drone incursion, then of course Russia can provoke more. So I think without this response, Russia would feel emboldened and stronger, to provoke, to threaten even more than it has done so far.
Well, meanwhile, China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi visits Austria, Slovenia, and also Poland. Do you see a connection between the visit and the Zapad drills? And what message do you think that Beijing is trying to send to both NATO and Moscow? And of course, the border being shut down, which stops Chinese goods from entering the European Union via Belarus.
I am not an expert when it comes to Chinese politics, but I think, most probably these aspects are all very connected. For China, the Belarus corridor, when it comes to the transportation of its goods via rail, is very important. And with the border closure, it is obvious that China should prioritize the sort of this issue, right? What is happening in Belarus, whether these are drills or repression, and why Poland is doing that, because of provocations, because of the recent arrest, and because of course this kind of military signaling from Belarus and Russia. So that's definitely becoming more important for China. So clearly, on the other hand, of course, China is trying to promote its own version of peace. And that's probably what the Chinese minister is also doing. So they are also gathering some allies. They are also explaining. They are also saying how the united West is responding, reacting, right, when it comes to the European Union.
Yeah, the timing is very special in this case as well. Well, inside Belarus, we all remember back in 2022 when, these drills were used as a launch pad to invade Ukraine. So inside of Belarus, how do ordinary people view these drills? Do they rally behind Lukashenko as a strongman, or do they see this as foreign troops occupying their territory and somewhat using them in this geopolitical game?
On one hand, there has been this great body of research in the past years that is showing that Belarusians are definitely against of being involved in the war against Ukraine. That's confirmed by all the sociological research, and this trend does not change. So Belarusians don't want that. When it comes to nuances, when it comes to propaganda, right, which to some extent has been successful, right, in convincing this Lukashenko's base, which is not the majority of people, by the way, but still, that Lukashenko is the kind of dove of peace. He's the one who is helping both sides to agree, to have this peace and so on and so forth. And he's the one who ensured peace in Belarus too. On the other hand, we have a lot of people in Belarus who don't know what's happening, right? They are also, the situation is blurred for them. Who is guilty, who is an aggressor, who is winning in Ukraine, who is attacking, and so on and so forth. What's happening there? So for these people, the situation is not that clear. And on the other hand, when it comes to Russian troops, they might not see them as the troops that are occupying Belarus, right? Because the drills have been happening for years. Russian troops are present in the country. There are at least 2,000 Russian troops normally in Belarus, and now with the drills. So they might not see this as a threat, but again, that's also up to us journalists who are in exile to explain what's happening, to help them connect the dots, to ensure that this information reaches them. I think there is also another aspect that I would like to mention that. So both Russia and Belarus announced the deployment of Russian nuclear weapons in the country, and we see that, again, the absolute majority of people is against the deployment of Russian nukes. Yet some moods, I think, have been changing, but not kind of very largely. Still, the absolute majority is against them, and I think that also shows that people don't want any escalation. They don't want any participation in the war. They don't want any provocations.
Yes, and let's hope it remains that way. Hanna Liubakova, non-resident fellow at the Atlantic Council, thank you so much for joining us here on World Talks. We very much appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
And that concludes this edition of World Talks. Thanks for joining us, and stay with us for more here on TVP World.